Welcome to Amen.com audio recordings. My name is Auntie Jill, and this is Chapter 8 of Living Sober, Changing Old Routines. Certain set times, familiar places, and regular activities associated with drinking have been woven closely into the fabric of our lives. Like fatigue, hunger, loneliness, anger, and over-elation, these old routines can prove to be traps dangerous to our sobriety. When we first stopped drinking, many of us found it useful to look back at the habits surrounding our drinking and, whenever possible, to change a lot of the small things connected with drinking. To illustrate, many who used to begin the day with an eye-opener in the bathroom now head for coffee in the kitchen. Some of us shifted the order of things we did to prepare for the day, such as eating before bathing and dressing, or vice versa. A change in brands of toothpaste and mouthwash, and be careful about the alcohol content in mouthwash, gave us a fresh, different taste to start out with. I repainted my bathroom and changed all the cupboards around. We tried a little exercise or a few quiet moments of contemplation or meditation before plunging into the day. I have to start my day with a guided meditation at Meditate at 8 every day. Many of us also learned to try a new route when we first left the house in the morning, not passing by a familiar watering hole. Don't go by the bar or the liquor store. Some have switched from the car to a train, from the subway to a bicycle, from a bus to walking. Others joined a different carpool. Whether our drinking was in the community bar car, the neighborhood gin mill, the kitchen, the country club, or the garage, each of us can spot pretty exactly his or her own favorite drinking local. Bet they didn't think Uber Eats would deliver it now. Whether we were the occasional bender thrower or the round-the-clock wine sipper, each of us knows for himself or herself what days, hours, and occasions have most often been associated with our tippling, our drinking, using, whichever. When you want not to drink, it helps to shake up all those routines, all of them, and change the pieces around. We have found this. Housewives, for instance, or you staying at home, husbands, say it helps to shift shopping times and places, or if you're working from home, Zoom-wise, and rearrange the agenda of daily chores. Working people who used to sneak out for a short like that's sneaking a drink, or a snort of something else, on the coffee break now stay in and really have coffee or tea and a bun. And that's a good time to call someone you know who's also off the sauce. Call another AA member at this point. During times when we used to drink, it's reassuring to talk to a person who has been through the same experiences. It's a we program. Those of us who began our sobriety while confined to a hospital or a jail tried to change our daily paths so we would not encounter the institution's bootlegger so often. Yeah, you can get this stuff in places you're not supposed to. Stay away. For some of us, lunchtime was usually an hour or two of liquid refreshment or whatever you needed to boost you. When we first stopped drinking, instead of going to the restaurant or steak pit where the waiters and the bartenders always knew what we wanted without being told, it makes good sense to head in a different direction for lunch. And it's especially helpful to eat with other non-drinkers. Yes, keep new friends. Testing your willpower in a matter involving health seems pretty silly when it's not necessary. Make new friends, go to new playgrounds, new playmates. Instead, we try to make our new health habits as easy as possible. In other words, don't tempt fate. For many of us, this has also meant foregoing, at least for a while, the company of our hard drinking or using buddies. if they are true friends, they naturally are glad to see us take care of our health, and they respect our right to do whatever we want to do, just as we respect their right to drink if they choose. But we have learned to be wary of anyone who persists in urging us to drink again. Those who really love us, it seems, encourage our efforts to stay well. At 5 p.m., or whenever the day's work is done, some of us learned to stop at a sandwich shop for a bite. Then we would take an unfamiliar route for walking home, one that did not lead past our old drinking haunts. If we were commuters, we did not ride in the bar car, and we got off the train at the other end, not near the friendly neighborhood tavern. So obviously this is written a different time ago, but you get the gist. You don't go where you used to drink. When we got home, instead of bringing out the ice cubes and glasses, we changed clothes, then brewed a pot of tea, or took some fruit or vegetable juice, took a nap, or relaxed a while in the shower or with a book or the newspaper, iPad or whatever these days. We learned to vary our diet to include foods not closely associated with alcohol. Change it up, different menu. See the end of nutrition on this website. If imbibing and watching TV was our usual after-dinner routine, we found it helped to shift to an other room and other activities. If we used to wait for the family to get up and before hauling out the bottle, we tried going to bed earlier, or taking a walk, or reading, or writing, or playing chess. Make a list of your own and have it ready to look at so you know what to do when that feeling comes up. Business trips, weekends and holidays, the golf course, baseball and football stadiums, card games, the old swimming pool, or the ski lodge often meant drinking for many of us. Airports. When we first stopped drinking, we found it paid to plan a different kind of trip or holiday for a while. Trying to avoid taking a drink on a vessel loaded with beer drinkers, the old all-inclusives, Tom Collins sippers, flask nippers, sangria lovers, or hot buttered rum guzzlers, is much harder than simply going to other places and, for novelty's sake, doing the new things that do not particularly remind us of drinking. There are sober cruises and such nowadays too. Suppose we were invited to the kind of cocktail party where the chief entertainment or business was drinking. What then? While drinking, we'd been pretty skillful at dreaming up alibis. So we just applied that skill to devising a graceful way of saying, no thank you. For parties we really have to attend, we've worked out safe new routines, which are explained on page 66. In our early days of not drinking, did we get rid of all the booze around our homes? Yes and no. Most successful non-drinkers agree that it is a sound precaution at first to get rid of whatever hidden stashes there may be, if we can find them. But opinions vary with regard to the bottles in the liquor cabinet or the wine rack. Some of us insist that it was never the availability of the beverage that led us to drink, any more than the immediate unavailability kept us from that drink we really wanted. So some ask, why pour good scotch down the drain or even give it away? We live in a drinking society, they say, and cannot avoid the presence of alcoholic beverages forever. Keep the supply on hand to serve when guests arrive, they suggest, and just learn to ignore it the rest of the time. For them, that worked. A multitude of others among us point out that sometimes it was incredibly easy for us to take a drink on impulse, almost unconsciously, before we intended to. If no alcohol is handy, if we'd have to go out and buy it, we at least have a chance to recognize what we're about to do and can choose not to drink instead. Yeah, I needed that delay. Non-drinkers of this persuasion say they found it wiser to be safe than sorry. So they gave away their whole stock and kept none on the premises until their sobriety seemed to be in a fairly steady, stabilized state. Even now, they buy only enough for one evening's guests. Good advice. So take your pick. You know what your own drinking patterns have been and how you feel about sobriety today. Now, most of the little things in routine mentioned in this section may seem, by themselves, ridiculously trivial. However, we can assure you that the sum total of all such alterations in pattern has given many of us an astonishingly powerful propulsion toward newly vigorous health. You can have such a boost too, if you want it. And that's the end of Chapter 8 of Living Sober. I'm Auntie Jill.